Deerfest TV is brought to you by Benchy, the official UTV of Deerfest. Bergstrom GM of Oshkosh and the all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Horny Buck Seed Company, growing the bucks of tomorrow. Whitetail Dreams Real Estate, buying or selling, trust the professionals at Whitetail Dreams Real Estate. Gold Tip, the official arrow of Deerfest. Diamond by Bowtech and the all-new Infinite Edge, the last bow you will ever have to buy. Deerfest TV is also brought to you by Rage Broadheads, Elite Archery, Field Logic, and Budweiser. Well, welcome back to Deerfest TV. As you can see from the leaves behind us here, they're starting to change and they're even starting to fall a little bit. Does that mean we're headed into that dreaded October lull that everybody talks about where the deer don't move at all?
Well, I think it's definitely a myth. It's something that everybody talks about. Yeah, there's some times where it's true, but it's just like any time in deer hunting. If you get the right weather conditions and move through, if you get a good weather front, you're going to see deer. We just got back from a trip in Ohio. I was actually out filming team member Casey Morgan this last week, and we were hunting the supposed October lull, but fortunately for us, we had a front push through, and we saw some really good deer activity that night and the night after the front. So you just kind of got to key in and find those fronts and hunt them.
Well, and again, another reason I think you were so lucky in Ohio is it was near the opening of their season, so those deer weren't pressured. And that's what we tell people. During the time of year when you know that the movement's going to be suppressed, hunt areas that haven't been pressured. Maybe go to a spot you haven't been, one you won't traditionally go to, but go to an area of low pressure where the deer don't know that they're being hunted, with the warm weather. And another thing I tell everybody about this miserable warm weather we've had is you got to watch wind direction. It almost always means you got hints out of the south. And most of our stands are set up here in the Midwest for north-northwest winds, so watch that wind out of the south. That's very, very important.
It is important to kind of key in areas that are low pressure, but it's also very important that you don't go in and hunt areas that are bedding areas. Don't go in and pressure those deer. Hunt the edges, stay on the fringes. Yeah, maybe you go sit a spot you haven't sat very much, but don't dive into the timber deep and spook deer. That's not what you're going to want to be doing.
No, absolutely not. And, we just got done with the youth season here in Wisconsin, and it was terrible weather again. Warm, we had some rain, some wind, but we hunted an area that we hadn't put any pressure on, and we saw a lot of deer, both Saturday and Sunday night. Had a great time with Megan. You'll get to see that a little bit later in the year, but let's dive in, take a look at what we're going to have in this week's episode.
Well, this week on the Back 40, we're sitting down again with Jeremy Van Hooley, and we're actually going to talk about knowing your property. What are some things that you can do to go in and learn a lot about your property, different times of year to go in and learn different things. So we're going to sit down with Jeremy, and he's going to kind of give us some pointers on what are good times of the year to go through and check out pieces of your property.
Yeah, and it is so important, and people think they know their property. We live on a 40, we walk it, we learn something all the time. At Young Bucks this week, Megan, you saw her last week get her bow. This week she's back down at John's and she's shooting it, and it's amazing how quick that she learns how to shoot that bow. So you'll want to watch that. Deer Raw is a lot of fun this week. There was a chance we had to film some deer here in central Wisconsin, late in the year, and it's one of those things where everybody complains they never see any deer. Well, watch this field. I think you'll have some fun.
Yeah, it was just a March day. It was horns were off, so you're going to see there's no bucks in any of the footage, but there's probably over 100 deer in this winter wheat field, and that's what that time of year what deer are going to start keying in on. When the snow comes off, find that first green field. That's where a lot of your deer are going to end up being. It's a good spot to start finding a lot of deer. When we look at deer and deer gear this week, we're actually going to sit down at the ATA show again with Mike Matley of Moultrie. And he's going to explain to us something really cool that they got coming out there at Moultrie Trail Cameras. It's a new camera. It's got some unbelievable features, things that have never been seen before, so we're excited for that.
Yeah, it's really neat. I can't wait to try it myself. And, of course, we're going to close this episode with a hunt. It's our good friend Dan Redlin down in Kansas. We were down there on a self-guided hunt and had 5 days to learn these deer, and it's totally different from what we're normally hunting here in Wisconsin, different type of country. Dan does a great job. Another friend, Pat McNamara, running the camera, so you'll want to watch that. It's a great, great hunt.
All right, guys, we hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
Thank you.
I think that's something that's really important for people to know is to know your property. People think they know their land, but you don't know if you really ever know. You have to walk every possible inch you can, but you also have to do that very strategically and smart. Fortunate for us, we could go in and walk all these areas in the spring because we knew going into it that this property had been pressured and it had been walked. And, you know, there wasn't really a lot of late season food there for the deer, so it wasn't holding a lot of deer where we were possibly going to maybe bump a big buck out, you know, before the season even started or anything like that. So in the spring, it gives you a really good chance to kind of go in and walk, and there's a little bit of snow on the ground yet, into those areas. You know, dip into those areas that you don't necessarily always go into. You know, shed hunting is also a great time to learn your property, because a lot of times that's where big bucks are going to shed. You know, they're going to shed in the sanctuary where they feel bedding, and usually you can go into those areas in that time of year, and you're not going to bump a deer completely off your property. You know, he's maybe going to leave for a couple days because he felt some pressure, but then he's going to come back. So shed hunting is a great time to go in and kind of walk those areas too, but it is really important for you to know every possible inch of your property you can. And, you know, with having you, we were very, very fortunate that you had a chance to really scour this entire property and learn it, you know, when you were getting ready to list this property for sale. So I'm sure you know some more great tips on ways you can really learn your property, maybe minimal intrusion or just some things to do walking-wise.
Yeah, one of the things that we do, we're pretty fortunate. No one wants us walking their property during the deer season. They call us after the deer season is done, Dustin, and a lot of times they want to list a property. Maybe the family's only hunting it and it's an old farmer who owns it, or maybe it's just somebody who, it was an investment and they've hunted it and they've moved on to a larger property. A lot of guys will start out with a 40, and then they'll, as the kids grow up or more people into their group, they'll go into 120 or 200 or, you know, what have you. But we get the calls sometimes in December, January, February, strap on snowshoes. We put on the snowshoes. The deer, a lot of times, are still making scrapes after the deer season. We can see all the rubs. They're very prevalent. The snow makes them look like they're only 10 inches off the ground. We can still see the runways. One of the biggest things, and I think this has been an advantage since the day that I started selling hunting land, is walking the property after the leaves have fallen down, looking at topography. You can see those slight changes. And it's so important to see that a subtle ridge or maybe an easier draw is what forces those deer into an area you can hang a stand there. And that's what I did with this property. I went in there, 2 feet of snow, and it was a lot of work walking this property. But we could see what the deer were basically doing and how they were using this particular farm based on all the food that was left over from the egg ground to the north and to the east. And that's when, you know, we went and walked it, you know, after that, and said, hey, you know, here's what the deer are basically doing, and let's put some food in here and let's hold them here. So, but yeah, I think that get out, walk your property in the wintertime. After the deer season is done, after the late bow season here in Wisconsin is done, the muzzleloader seasons are all done, and you're just done hunting. Maybe you got to go walk off some Christmas ham or turkey. You just need to go for a walk. Go out into your woods, walk it, look for those things, walk with a GPS in your hand. GPS nowadays are highly intelligent. It will track everywhere you've gone. I do this all the time because then I'll just put waypoints in there where I think a good stand location might be.
So in summary from this week's Back 40 segment, the key points that we kind of want our viewers to take out of this is that it's important to know your property, whether that be a new piece of property you've never hunted before or a piece of property you've been hunting for years. Things are always going to change there, whether that be crops on the neighboring properties are changing, whether there maybe be a major tree that falls that blocks an area. But it's important for you to get out at different times of the year, get out, check your property out, and make sure you know where those deer are moving.
How's that look?
Better.
All right. Go ahead, squeeze the trigger. Actually, you got pretty good form there, young lady. Your bald father must have taught you good. Sorry, you always say it. There's another edit job. Okay. Yep, shoulder, your feet, shoulder width. Okay. Yep, shoulder, your feet, shoulder width apart. Pull her on back. Look right to the peep.
Oh, peep sideways.
There, yeah. Okay. She'll spin on in. Excellent. You're doing pretty good.
What are you aiming at?
Center thing.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Megan, we got your new Diamond Infinite Edge all set up, and you just started shooting some arrows. And how impressive! What do you think?
Good.
Good. Come on, it's better than good. I mean, everybody, look at that pattern. She shot maybe a total of 10 arrows off this new Diamond Infinite Edge package that we're going to use for Deerfest TV, and of the 6 that she just shot, they're all touching red. Unbelievable. Great job.
Thanks.
Well, Megan, you did an excellent job today trying to get your release hooked up to there. You did very good shooting. I'm very proud of you. And as far as Bowtech and Diamond, you got yourself one heck of a nice toy. And thanks to Deerfest, Bowtech, and congratulations on your new bow.
Thanks.
I shoot some big bucks with that thing when you bring them back here. And you say that you heard of a drop-away rest. This is no drop-away release from Scott.
Thanks, Bowtech, for the bow, and thanks, Deerfest, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dean.
Thanks, Dean.
Not a problem. And we're going to go hunting.
Yep.
New for 2013, Moultrie has a couple of really neat cameras. The one I'm most excited about is the Panoramic 150. What this camera does is it has 3 sensors down through here. They're in a different quadrant, and they each covers a 50-degree field of view. So you can see here on the box. You total that, and then it comes up to the 150, hence the name. Up here you can see the LEDs, and up above it is the lens, and we call that is the silent slide lens, and that moves. So you have a couple different options with this camera. You can put it in the standard camera mode, and what that will do, it starts in the middle position, and if any of these 3 sensors detects movement, the lens and LEDs will move to that location, take the picture, and then move back and to its center point. You can also put it in panoramic mode. In panoramic mode, it will start over in one side, and if any of those 3 sensors detects movement, it will start, take a picture here, move over, take a picture of the middle, move a picture over here, and it does that all in just under 4 seconds. And it will tie all 3 images together in a panoramic picture covering an entire 150-degree arc out in your field. Works great for food plots. Any type of area where you have a long distance, where you want to be able to cover a lot of area. With the flash on this camera, with the LED, it reaches out to 100 feet nighttime flash. So when you start looking at it, you have a 150-degree field of view by 100 feet out. That gives you a lot of square footage.
We are down here in Kansas, drove from Wisconsin with Performance Outdoors, and I shot a really nice buck the other day, and big giant they call Bat Boy, huge bases on it, big old deer. And so tonight I'm going to help Dan and set a second stand up, and I'm going to try some filming. And we're going to get one, right, Dan?
We're going to go down here
Let's get one.
about 100 yards, and there's a stand that's about 25 feet up that
I really don't want to climb up in, but I was talked into going, so we're going to give it a shot. So here we go.
All right.
Well, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, here we are with good friend Dan Redlin and Pat behind the camera in southwest Kansas. This is a really unique and interesting hunt. You can see by their setup here that they're set up on a large CRP field that actually borders a small creek bottom. And what they're doing is catching these deer coming out of this CRP and filtering along this creek edge. It's a really cool hunt. We hope you guys enjoy it. Sit back and enjoy. Well, as you can see, we've got this set. We've got it tucked back up in this big cedar. It's not real high, but it's got unbelievable cover and backdrop, and it's got a really good low cover, so if the deer are underneath us, they're going to have to be looking through branches, and then we've got that dark cedar in behind us, so it should be really good. And all the tree branches that we had to cut to clear shooting lanes, we actually took and we built up on the downwind side of us along this fence line here. So we basically rebuilt the fence line, not allowing the deer to cross. There's an old barbed wire there, but it's not a normal fence anymore. It's pretty much knocked down. There's a couple high strands. So we took all the old tree branches and we laid them up against that fence line to block the deer off, so deer aren't going to be able to get out and get to us.